He jerked up, his heart racing, and was sweating all over. The dream felt so real, like a warning. But what did it mean? Why had he dreamt of Victoria in that dark place? He couldn't understand it, but he couldn't shake the feeling that it was important. His mind kept going back to what Chief Emeka had said. The sacrifice must be a child related to you. Fams, before we continue this story, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the notification bell for notifications. Christmas time was always the best time of the year. The whole house was filled with laughter, music, and the smell of delicious food. Yuzo Amaka, also called Yuza, had spent the whole day cooking, making sure everything was perfect. Her children ran around the house, playing with their new toys and giggling loudly. The Christmas tree sparkled with shiny ornaments, and colourful lights twinkled like tiny stars. Grandpa sat in his favourite chair, watching the children with a smile. He had come all the way from Onitsha to spend Christmas with his second daughter, Yuza, and her family. He was old, with grey hair and a walking stick, but his eyes were still sharp, filled with kindness and wisdom. Every evening, Grandpa told stories. He told stories about brave warriors, cunning animals, and magical lands. The children loved sitting around him, listening to his deep voice as he spoke of ancient times. Victoria, the third daughter, loved his stories the most. She always sat closest to him, her big brown eyes shining with curiosity. 2 weeks passed quickly, and soon, it was time for Grandpa to return home. The house, which had been full of excitement, suddenly felt different. The children were sad, and even Yuza looked worried. She had enjoyed having her father around, and now he was leaving again. But before leaving, Grandpa made a surprising request. "Yuza," he said, his voice gentle but firm, "I want to take Victoria with me to Onitsha." Yuza's eyes widened in surprise. "Take Victoria?" Grandpa nodded. "She is now 10 years old. She can help me with chores. I am getting old and need someone to assist me." Yuza did not know what to say. She looked at Victoria, who was busy playing with her younger brother. Victoria was just a child. Could she really stay with Grandpa all the way in Onitsha? Victoria heard her name and turned. "Mama, what is Grandpa saying?" Yuza hesitated. She knew Victoria would miss home, but she also saw the tiredness in Grandpa's eyes. He was getting older, and maybe having Victoria with him would help. After thinking for a long time, she finally sighed and said, "Okay, Papa, Victoria will go with you." Victoria's face changed. Her smile disappeared, and her eyes filled with tears. "No, Mama, I don't want to go," she cried, running to hug her mother tightly. Grandpa patted her head gently. "Don't cry, my dear. You will like it in Onitsha. I will take good care of you." Victoria shook her head, her arms wrapped around her mother's waist. "But I will miss you, Mama. I will miss my sisters and brothers." Her voice was small and shaky. Yuza knelt down and held Victoria's face in her hands. "I know, my child. But Grandpa needs you. Be a good girl and help him. You will come back soon, I promise." Victoria sniffled. "Will I really come back soon?" "Yes, my dear," Yuza assured her. "You will come back." But in her heart, she felt uneasy. Something about this decision made her stomach twist, but she pushed the feeling aside. Victoria slowly packed her clothes. Her siblings watched silently. Nobody knew what to say. Her older sister helped fold her dresses, while her little brother held onto her hand, not wanting to let go. At the bus station, Victoria's heart pounded. The bus looked big and strange. The driver honked, signaling it was time to leave. Victoria turned to her mother one last time. "Mama, are you sure I should go?" Yuza smiled, but her eyes looked sad. "Yes, my child. Go with Grandpa. Everything will be fine." Victoria wiped her tears and climbed into the bus. She sat by the window, pressing her face against the glass. As the bus moved, she watched her family disappear into the distance. Her mother stood still, waving. Her siblings jumped up and down, calling her name. But soon, they were gone. And for the first time in her life, Victoria felt completely alone. When Victoria arrived in Onitsha, everything felt strange. The streets were crowded with people shouting, selling things, and carrying heavy baskets on their heads. Hawkers moved from one place to another, calling out their goods. Buses and motorcycles zoomed past, honking loudly. The smell of roasted corn, fried plantains, and spicy meat filled the air. It was nothing like her home. Grandpa's house was big. It had a large compound with tall palm trees and a small garden where he grew vegetables. At the back of the house was an even bigger place, his cocoa farm. It stretched far and wide, with rows of cocoa trees standing tall. Victoria had never seen so many trees in her life. Grandpa was a businessman. He imported and exported cocoa. His farm had many workers who harvested cocoa pods when they were ripe. Some of the cocoa beans were sold, while others were turned into bonvita, a special cocoa powder for tea. Traders came from far and wide to buy from him. His best customer was Mr. Ephraim, a well-known businessman who bought cocoa in large amounts and sold it at the local market. At first, Victoria felt lonely. She missed her mother, her siblings, and the comfort of home. But she tried to be strong. She helped Grandpa with house chores, swept the compound, and sometimes she followed him to the farm. Slowly, she got used to her new home. She even made a few friends, including Ada, the daughter of one of the farm workers. Ada was kind and funny, and Victoria enjoyed spending time with her. One evening, as the sun was setting, Grandpa sat outside in his favorite chair, looking deep in thought. Victoria noticed that he was not his usual cheerful self. He was staring at the trees, tapping his fingers on the armrest. "I need more land," Grandpa muttered to himself. "If I buy more land, I can plant more cocoa and make more money." Victoria was curious. "Grandpa, do you need more money?" she asked softly. Grandpa looked at her and smiled. "Yes, my child. More money means more success. But land is expensive, and I don't have enough money to buy more." Victoria nodded, not fully understanding why money was so important. Then, Grandpa's face lit up as if he had just remembered something. "Chief Emeka," he said suddenly. "Yes, Chief Emeka can help me. He is a very rich man." Chief Emeka was the wealthiest man in their village. He had many houses, plenty of land, and several businesses. If anyone could lend Grandpa money, it was him. The next day, as the sun turned golden, Grandpa dressed up in his finest clothes and went to Chief Emeka's house. It was a grand mansion with tall gates and guards at the entrance. When Grandpa arrived, he was welcomed warmly and offered cola nuts as a sign of respect. After some friendly talk, Grandpa explained why he had come. "I need money to expand my business," he said. "I want to buy more land." Chief Emeka nodded, rubbing his chin. "I have an offer for you, my friend," he said with a sly smile. "But you will hear it on your next visit. Come back on the next Afar market day." Grandpa was eager to know the offer, but he had no choice but to wait. The days dragged slowly, but finally, Afar market day arrived. Grandpa wasted no time. He went straight to Chief Emeka's house, excited to hear what the rich man had to say. This time, Chief Emeka did not waste words. He leaned closer and spoke in a low voice. "My friend, if I lend you money, you will still come back for more. But I can show you a way to get unending wealth." Grandpa's eyes widened in excitement. "Unending wealth," he repeated. "How?" Chief Emeka's smile grew wider. "It is very simple," he said. "But there is one condition." Grandpa's heart began to beat faster. "What is the condition?" he asked cautiously. Chief Emeka's face darkened slightly. He leaned even closer and whispered, "You must sacrifice a girl between the age of 10 and 12 years. Grandpa jumped back as if stung. "What? How can I do that? Where will I get a girl?" Chief Emeka shrugged. "That is for you to figure out," he said calmly. "But understand this. This is the best way to get unlimited money. You will never have to worry about anything again." Grandpa left the house in deep thought. His footsteps felt heavy as he walked home. His mind was troubled. He needed more money. But how could he sacrifice a child? And where would he even find one? As he entered his compound, he saw Victoria sweeping the front yard. She looked up, smiled, and ran to collect his walking stick. "Welcome back, Grandpa," she said cheerfully. Grandpa stared at her for a long time. His heart pounded in his chest. That night, Grandpa couldn't sleep. His mind was racing, filled with thoughts of the promise Chief Emeka had made. The wealth, the power, the success. It all seemed too good to be true. But then, there was the price. The terrible price. As Grandpa tossed and turned in his bed, his thoughts became more tangled. He stared at the ceiling, his heart pounding. Suddenly, his eyes closed, and he fell into a deep sleep. In his dream, he saw Victoria. She was standing in a dark, cold place. She looked so small and lonely. Her eyes were sad, and her hands hung by her sides, like she had no strength left. Grandpa felt a chill run down his spine as he watched her. Then, Victoria turned to him and whispered, "Grandpa, why are you doing this to me?" Grandpa woke up with a start. His heart was racing, and he was sweating all over. The dream felt so real, like a warning. But what did it mean? Why had he dreamt of Victoria in that dark place? He couldn't understand it, but he couldn't shake the feeling that it was important. His mind kept going back to what Chief Emeka had said. The sacrifice must be a child related to you. The next morning, Grandpa tried to push the dream away, but the thought of Victoria wouldn't leave his mind. He needed to know more. He had to make sure of what he was doing. So, he went back to Chief Emeka. When Grandpa entered the large house, Chief Emeka was sitting in his chair, sipping tea. He looked up and smiled when he saw Grandpa. "Ah, my friend. You are back. Ready to make your choice." Grandpa nodded, his heart heavy. "What kind of girl must be used for the sacrifice?" he asked, his voice shaking slightly. Chief Emeka's smile grew wider. "The child must be related to you," he said. "Not just any random child. It has to be someone close, someone who shares your blood." Grandpa froze. His thoughts immediately turned to Victoria. She was his granddaughter. The dream. The sacrifice. Could it be? Could Victoria be the girl that Chief Emeka was talking about? Grandpa's mind whirled with confusion. His heart screamed at him to stop, to run away, to forget all about the dark plan. But then, there was that promise of unending wealth. The thought of the money, of the success, was like a weight pulling him down. "No," Grandpa whispered to himself. I can't do this to my own flesh and blood. She's just a child." But as the day passed, his thoughts began to twist again. How could he go back on his word to Chief Emeka? How could he ignore the temptation of so much wealth? The idea began to grow inside him like a seed in the dark. That night, as Grandpa sat alone in his room, he thought of Victoria again. She was so kind, so trusting. She had been so happy to help him on the farm, to take care of things around the house. She always smiled and did her best. How could he hurt her? How could he betray her and her mother? Grandpa was lost in thought when he heard a voice. "Grandpa, are you all right?" It was Victoria's voice. Startled, Grandpa looked up to see her standing at the door. She was holding a small tray with a bowl of soup. "I made this for you," she said. "I know you've been working hard." Grandpa smiled weakly. "Thank you, Victoria. But I'm just thinking about some things. Go on and get some rest, all right?" Victoria nodded, but she lingered by the door, her eyes filled with concern. "Grandpa, is something wrong? You've been so quiet lately. You can talk to me." Grandpa felt a lump form in his throat. How could he tell her the truth? How could he explain the terrible thing he was about to do? "No, my dear," he said, his voice shaking. "I'm just tired. You should go and rest now. Tomorrow, we'll go to the farm together." Victoria smiled. "Okay, Grandpa. I'll see you tomorrow. Sweet dreams." Grandpa watched her leave, and a wave of guilt washed over him. How could he go through with this? How could he betray her like that? But the next day, Grandpa made up his mind. He had waited long enough. The promise of wealth was too great to ignore. He would go through with it, no matter the cost. He couldn't turn back now. He returned to Chief Emeka's house, his mind made up. Chief Emeka was waiting for him. He had a cold, calculating smile on his face. "I see you've made your decision," he said. Grandpa nodded, his heart heavy with regret. "I'm ready." Chief Emeka handed him a small package. "This is what you need. The priest will give you a special potion. Put it in the girl's food. She will sleep and never wake up." Grandpa took the package from him, his hands trembling. "And then?" he asked. "Then, you will place her body in the basement. The ritual will be complete," Chief Emeka said, his voice as smooth as silk. That night, Grandpa prepared the potion. It was a dark, thick liquid, and it had a strange, bitter smell. He mixed it carefully into Victoria's food. She had no idea. She was so happy to help him. She ate the food and went to bed early, just like every other night. The next morning, when Grandpa went to wake her up, she didn't stir. He shook her gently, but she didn't move. Her skin was cold to the touch. She wasn't breathing. Grandpa's heart stopped. He stood there, staring at her, feeling like his world had just collapsed. The guilt and fear crushed him, but there was no turning back now. He picked her up, her lifeless body feeling so heavy in his arms. Grandpa carried her downstairs to the basement, his steps slow and heavy. He placed her on the cold stone floor, covering her with a blanket. The ritual was complete. As he walked away from her, the weight of what he had done settled on his chest. He tried to shake it off, but it wouldn't leave. The promise of wealth, of success, didn't feel like a victory anymore. It felt like a curse. In the darkness of the basement, Victoria lay still, her body cold, while upstairs, Grandpa's heart began to crumble, piece by piece. After Grandpa made the terrible decision to follow Chief Emeka's plan, things started changing. At first, everything seemed fine. In fact, it seemed like the plan was working better than Grandpa could have ever imagined. Money began to flow into his hands like a river that had just been opened. He bought more land. His cocoa business grew even bigger. People from all over the village started coming to him for cocoa, and soon he became the richest man in the area. It was like the whole town was talking about how much money Grandpa had made. People whispered, "Have you seen Grandpa? He's a millionaire now." But with all the money, something strange happened. Grandpa began to change. At first, it was small things. He started refusing to help people when they asked for it. If someone came to him for food or a little money to buy medicine, Grandpa would turn them away. "Sorry, I can't help you," he would say. "You should work harder." People in the town started to notice this. "Why doesn't he help anyone?" they would ask each other. "He has all this money, but he never gives anything to the poor. Something isn't right." Soon, even more people started to talk behind his back. They began to believe that Grandpa's money was not clean, that maybe he had done something bad to get so rich. But Grandpa didn't care. He was enjoying his success. All he cared about now was getting more and more. But even though things were going well for Grandpa, he was not happy. There was a weight on his heart that he couldn't shake off. It was the guilt of what he had done to Victoria. Every night, he thought about her. Sometimes, he could hear her voice in his dreams, calling for him. "Grandpa, why did you do this to me?" Each time, he would wake up with a cold sweat, his heart racing. But he pushed the thoughts away, telling himself, "I did what I had to do. I needed the money. I couldn't go back." And yet, deep down, he knew it wasn't true. The money had a price, and it was slowly starting to eat away at him. Meanwhile, far away in the city, Victoria's mother, User, was growing more and more worried. She hadn't heard from Victoria in weeks, and every time she called, Grandpa had an excuse. "She went to the market," he would say. "She's not feeling well," he would lie. User was not fooled. She knew something was wrong. She missed her daughter terribly. She couldn't just sit at home, waiting for Grandpa to answer her questions. One morning, User decided she was going to visit Grandpa's house in Onitsha. She was going to see Victoria with her own eyes. When User arrived at Grandpa's house, she was shocked by what she saw. The house looked so different now. It was bigger, grander, with new things everywhere. Grandpa was sitting on a chair in the living room, looking out the window. He looked nervous, like he was waiting for something to happen. User walked in, and as soon as she stepped into the room, she asked, "Where is Victoria?" Her voice was firm and strong. Grandpa jumped, as if he had been caught doing something wrong. She went to the market," he stammered, trying to smile. But User wasn't convinced. She looked at Grandpa's face, and she knew something was wrong. "I will wait for her," she said, crossing her arms. "I want to see her now." Grandpa's heart began to race. He could feel his palms getting sweaty. What if she found out? What if she went to the basement and saw the truth? Suddenly, there was a strange noise. It was soft at first, like a faint whisper. Grandpa froze, listening carefully. Then, the voice came again. "Mama, help me." User's eyes widened in shock. "That sounds like Victoria," she screamed, her voice full of fear. Without thinking, she pushed past Grandpa and ran toward the sound. "Victoria!" User cried out. "Where are you?" Grandpa tried to stop her, but it was too late. User was already running down the stairs to the basement. The house seemed to grow colder with each step she took. She was almost there. She could hear the voice clearer now, and her heart beat faster. "Mama, help me." When User reached the basement door, she slammed it open. What she saw made her heart stop. There, lying on the cold, hard floor, was Victoria. She was pale and still, like she had been asleep for a very long time. But User knew her daughter was not just asleep. There was something terribly wrong. Victoria's eyes were closed, her arms limp at her sides. She looked like a little doll, lifeless and forgotten. User fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. "Victoria!" User screamed, shaking her daughter gently. "Wake up! Please, wake up!" But Victoria didn't move. She didn't open her eyes. She didn't even breathe. Grandpa stood at the top of the stairs, frozen in place. He had never felt so afraid in his life. He had done something terrible, something that couldn't be undone. He had ruined everything, all for the money. User turned to him, her face full of shock and anger. "What did you do to my daughter?" she cried. "What did you do?" Grandpa opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He could feel the weight of his sin crushing him. He had chosen wealth over his own family. He had chosen evil.